we have three issues tonight to take up consideration on. One is regarding to approve an application to the land bank. Joe, you gonna speak to us, or Joe?
Sure. Another round of funding from the Attorney General's office has been advertised for us to apply for as the county for the land bank, and we are simply seeking approval from the board to go ahead and apply.
We have a motion to move that forward.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on the part of the committee? Part of the board at large? Not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, motion carried. Thanks, Joe. The next issue we have is regarding the hangar space. Who's going to give us, Jill, you going to speak to us on
I'll
this?
give you the update. All right, fortunately, I'm back here to request approval for an additional $35,000 for the hangar project out of the airport, and if so approved, that we will award the contract for mechanicals to M4 out of Rochester. As you remember, last month we came and we had requested that we would award contracts 1 and 2, which were for the construction and the electric. And there we had anticipated that we were going to be underfunded by about $100,000. We had not awarded that was contract number 3, which was for mechanicals. And we didn't receive any bids originally, so we had to go out to rebid that. When we had requested the $100,000, we had talked with engineers and they had adjusted their estimates of what they thought those bids would come in at. They thought everything would come in at about $62,000. They adjusted it up given the fact that bids had been coming in high at about $78,000. And unfortunately, the mechanical bid came in the low bid came in at $112,000. So we're still additionally $35,000 short to continue on with the project.
Wow. Kind of in a hole there. We've gone this far, we've done what we've done. We can't stop given all the money we've already expended.
The unfortunate part is that we have already paid for and being reimbursed by the state for $75,000 for design and bidding. So if the project does not move forward, we will have to reimburse the state for $75,000.
I know I spoke to Mr. Ladd. Ralph, I think you might have some comments.
I do. The page we got had a bunch of numbers on it. Started out, the New York State DOT grant was $720,000.
Yes.
County share of is another $80,000.
$80,000 for the match, yes.
That brings us up to $800,000. We, a month ago, voted to give you another $100,000.
Correct.
Now you're here today or tonight for another $35,000. That totals $935,000.
Correct.
So the first bid for general construction was $598,400.
Yes.
Second bid for electrical construction was $98,000.
Yes.
Tonight you're saying the plumbing mechanical construction is another $112,500.
Came in at $112,500, yes.
That totals $808,900.
Yes. Then there's an additional $125,000 for the engineering and the construction and observation. The 75 engineering design we've already paid for and we've already completed. If the project moves forward, then there's another $50,000 that would be paid for the actual construction observation by the engineering firm.
Because my question was, we're $126,000 over what was actually available for this thing, but that's taken up in engineering costs.
Engineering costs.
I don't like this one little bit.
No, and I understand.
I wasn't happy with 100,000 before, and now we're back again for another 35.
Exactly.
That brings the county share up to $215,000 on basically $1 million project.
Yes, it's slightly over 20% where we initially thought it was going to be a 10% match.
Somebody fouled up big time. It's a lot of money coming from the county, and I was against this before, and I'm going to vote no tonight. I don't want the rest of the board to go for the whole group, but I Somebody needs to do better planning, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, my comment, if I might piggyback on Ralph's comment, is how big are we going to have this airport? Are we looking for Seneca County International? I think we need to be kind of cognizant of that. What's big enough? How far do we go with it? John, you had your hand up. You wanted to speak?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I would like to put maybe a little more meat on Supervisor Lott's comment as far as someone messed up. The planning department have done a yeoman's job of doing this. The market is what significantly impacted here, right? So you get back to when this grant was originated, and assumptions are made for the construction of the hangar, the mechanicals. In this case, they're 150,000 short of the share. So yes, sensitive. I'm certainly sensitive of that as well. Metaphor is we have a used car with 80,000 miles. We just put a new engine in. How we're going to put new brakes on. I think we've been here before, and this one burns.
Thanks, John. Lee, you had a question?
Yes, well, I've got a comment, I guess, to the question. You asked how far are we going to go? And it's not going to be an international airport, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to do some of these upgrades to this airport and not have people that are going out to entertain at Del Lago have to go to Yates County to land the plane? This is going to get to be, I think, the bottom line. Help me out, Jill, if I'm wrong on this.
Well, it's been my understanding that the board has supported the idea of trying to improve the airport.
Well, if I may just offer my personal opinion on that, Lee, is the fact that if you take our pencil and sharpen it and put it to paper, for every dollar spent to allow these air jets, as you say, come in to spend money at Del Lago, how much dollar is generated for us, the county taxpayer, for that person that comes out with that jet? I think we have to pencil that in and say, hey, we're going to spend millions of dollars for a couple of jets to come in and do a little bit of gambling. What's our share of what they spend?
No.
It may not come up a whole lot shorter than what we're spending on that airport. So personally, I think we ought to just keep that in mind.
Supervisor Kaiser?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Supervisor Davidson is correct that the initial driver was to extend our runway to meet the minimum length so that private jets can land there, because the insurance rules dictate that the runway has to be a minimum of 5,000 feet long. We're making all these upgrades in a row to align us so that the next area that we can do is address the runway. Now, yes, it's true that we're experiencing problems with private jets associated with Del Lago, but also we have an awful lot of business jets that are, and Ralph, you can probably attest to that, especially with farm days, that cannot land there because of the same situation. So it's more than just the casino. What we're trying to do is bring our airport up to minimum standards so we can land the private jets. And then on the other end, we're able to sell them jet fuel, and we make a profit on that.
It's selling.
You got to look at all of this and not just focus on one part.
Not to get on a big discussion on this, but you have to quantify a lot of jets. There's a number there. Ralph sees these planes come in. What's a lot? Number two, anyone who sells fuel at an airport is never looked at as a money-making venture. It's a service we provide. It's not something to make revenue.
Well, without the proper airport, you can't land in the first place.
I digress.
So there's no way to quantify the amount of jets that can land there until we meet the minimum.
Okay. Mr. Kronweiler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to point out that these cost overruns are associated with the same thing we experienced on bids with the 3 Bears. The engineers say 100,000 and they come in at 200,000.
Well, John makes a good point.
But to that point, maybe we better look at some different engineers, because I don't blame Jill. I mean, she's got a job to do just like all the rest of us, but,
Who was that?
and I don't want to see the airport fail. I want to see that thing go forward. I want to see the runway extended, the future. It's just we're being nickel and dimes, and they're not really nickels and dimes. They're $100 bills and $150 bills, and it's very frustrating for me to have to vote for this tonight, because I don't want to see this fail, especially when John says we're going to lose $75,000 if we don't go forward. Man, that's another jab in the side here that we can't afford, so, you know, I'm really torn on this, really.
Double-edged sword.
Any other discussion on this?
I didn't think you would be extending the runway. How long are we looking before we do that?
We would moving forward in some planning stages with, next year, we would be revising the master plan, which would start, in doing that, that would be primarily funded through FAA money, and in that, we would start again documenting the air traffic that comes in there, and also any of the environmental issues that would need to be addressed, whether or not there's additional land that would need to be purchased, and that would be the first step to then applying for down the road. So we're really looking at, it would be more of a 2020-21 kind of application for extending the runway.
How much land do we have to purchase?
What's that? That part we're not sure of yet, because it's an issue of, as the airplanes land, they need a certain area free of any trees and such needs to be cleared, so we may need to purchase some additional land.
I think you're wrong on that. I think they've already purchased the land, because we farm all the ground around there.
Yes, there has been a great deal amount that has been purchased, but part of this master plan would be to verify that they've got all of the requirements that are going to be needed.
Does the county own that land north of the runway there? That field you're farming?
It's a combination. There's a person from Pennsylvania owns a chunk of ground there. Peanut Luckman owns a chunk. But Peanut, there's some metal stakes out in the field, and Peanut said, don't pull them out, because that's where the county border is, and we work around those little things. So that's what I thought, when the road gets closed, then there's enough room already owned by the county, but maybe, I don't know.
That's what the regulations are going to require. We have a comment?
One last thing. I think if you check, you find that they are making money on fuel. They've been selling for a lot of fuel. I don't have full recall of the...
I mean, they have, fuel sales up through June are about $51,000 in fuel sales. Yeah, so.
And then,
Gross or not?
Well, he's asking if it's gross, is that profit?
No, it's not profit. What we do is basically we mark up Jet A fuel and 100 low lead $1 per gallon. So we've sold almost $20,000 or 20,000 gallons. So we're bringing up, netting out, or $20,000.
wow, that's a lot of money. John, go ahead.
The years prior, fiscal years prior to 17 were cash flow positive for the fuel sales, largely on a medevac operation. Last year was slightly negative. It's been a lucrative venture, our airport. And fuel sales is a big part of it.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other comments, questions on this topic?
I move to approve issue number 2.
Okay, so we've got a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Next, we have another issue here with 318 sanitary sewer system. It appears like we're going to have to amend the contract department and do this for further services. Joe, you want to quickly, or John, you want to quickly explain that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here, yes, additional administration. The expense or the diversion from what once was anticipated as a 318 project to now going to the administrative effort is just that, it's a diversion. We aren't talking new appropriations within the project budget. It's redefining what the appropriateness of the expense.
Any questions, comments by part of the committee? Members of the board? If,
I make a motion to approve the contract. Second.
we have a motion and a second, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Is there any other business to come before this committee? If not, we stand adjourned.
Do you have anything?